First-time homebuyer tips. What inspections do you need when you buy a house? Now, first of all, there's two answers to this, and that's what we're going to cover today. There's inspections you should get, and there's inspections that the lender will require. Now, the most important thing is just because I require it does not mean it's enough, okay? It's enough to do the loan, but if you were my brother, my sister, my dad, would I be saying, oh yeah, what I get's enough? No, not after the stuff I've seen over the years, guys, and I've gone through it myself. So first of all, let's talk about normal inspections when you buy a house. So when you buy a house normally, and we'll get to the lender stuff next, so this is not the lender stuff. Normally when you buy a house, you're gonna be looking at getting a home inspection. The home inspector goes out, you know, they look for problems, and often they may call out additional reports. Like if the roof's looking older, they'll call out a roof report, you know, and it's up to you whether or not you get one. If a home inspector called out a roof report or foundation or mold, yeah, I would definitely be getting that if it was me, okay? I'm not saying that as a lender, I'm saying that as Jennifer. Because the thing is if they're calling it out, I would rather pay a couple $100 and have peace of mind than not pay a couple $100 and then find out that I am the brand new homeowner of a house that has a foundation issue or a bad roof or mold. All of that stuff is incredibly expensive. So, really important that you guys are thinking about that up front. Now, homeowner's inspection, should you be there? If you can, I would definitely recommend it for two reasons. Number one, you know, I would let them go through the house and then I would want them to show me everything they find. Number one, you want them to explain what they found and if it's really a big deal. The reports often look way scarier than reality. You know, there's generally a leak under the master bedroom sink and under the kitchen sink. It's always one or the other, right? And on a report that can look really scary, but when you go and they open up the cabinet, they're like, yeah, there's just a little, you just have to tighten that. You're like, okay, no big deal. But the second reason is because sometimes there's stuff that is serious and it can help to have a professional tell you why they're concerned. You know, like siding, right? Sometimes if you have bad siding on a house, if you touch it and it's soft, that's not a good thing. Whereas if you look at a report and it's like siding was soft, you're like, what does that really mean? But if your finger's going in, you're like, oh God, no, I need to know what that's going to cost. So I would definitely recommend being there for the inspection. Also, third, you want to make sure they look at everything you're concerned about. You know, did they go in the attic? Was there something that caught your eye? Can you have them look at that? That's their job. So you definitely want to make sure that you're going to be working with a homeowner's inspector that's happy. He's actually a home inspector, not a homeowner's inspector. That'd be a little weird. Who's happy to go through it with you. And most professionals are. Okay, if they weren't happy to go through it with you, I would see that as a red flag. I don't care where you are in the country. I see it consistently that home inspectors are happy to go through it with the buyer after they've done their report. Now, if you can't be there, I would want to do a call or Zoom or something with the inspector to go through the report. Okay, if they charge you an extra $50 for it, fine, do it. Because what I'll hear a lot is, oh, well, my real estate agent said it was fine. Guys, your real estate agent isn't an inspector. So you're putting the burden of them understanding it to protect you, but that's not even their job. It's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you. So you want the inspector to go through the report. What else? Pest report, termites. Yeah, look, you know, definitely you're buying a house. There's certain parts of the country where dry rot, wood-boring beetles, like there can be serious issues. It's not just like rats or snakes. So a termite report can be a great way to see what's going on with the house. You know, it could have issues where the dry rot's so bad, you're gonna need a new deck. And you would rather know that going in rather than after you own the house. So termite inspections, another inspection that people often get. What else? If it's on a well reports, right? You want to make sure the water's drinkable. You want to make sure if it has a UV system, it works. You want to make sure the well has enough water. You know, that can be a thing. People are always like, wait, the well may not have, yeah, guys, it may not have enough water. Seriously, I see well reports and I've seen houses cancel because either A, the water is toxic and you can't drink it, or B, they don't have enough water. So yeah, I would be getting a well report if I was buying a house. Septic, okay? If the house is on a septic, oh my gosh, I would get that report, probably the first one I got. Sometimes people go, oh, well, they pumped it, it's fine. No, get the report. And the reason I say this is because I've seen so many deals where they've been delayed because of issues with the septic, like a cracked tank or a leach field. Now look, well and septic is generally on more rural properties, okay? I thought I turned that to mute, and I didn't, but we're gonna keep on going. So generally that is on more rural properties, okay? So if you're in the city, you're not gonna have a well or septic, but if you are looking at rural properties, you definitely should be budgeting for that. Sometimes people go, well, the seller disclosures didn't say anything. I wouldn't trust the seller disclosures. I don't think that many sellers are trying to deceive you, but once again, guys, they're not the inspectors, they're not the professional. Like, look, I would never want to deceive someone about my house. Like, that would be terrible. But I don't know everything. You know, I'm not a contractor. I'm not an inspector. I may be like, yeah, we had a leak there once and we fixed it, but there's a lot of stuff I wouldn't know that could be going on potentially, right? So inspections are important. Now, here's where it gets interesting. As a lender, I don't require all of that. And it's going to depend on the loan type. So conventional mortgage, okay, we don't require any inspections. On a conventional mortgage, the lender does not have any inspections that are required. Now look, with any loan, if the appraiser calls out an inspection, then it will be required, okay? Appraisers aren't inspectors though. They're not gonna call out a leak under the sink that drips. You know, they're not gonna call out, they're gonna call out huge stuff like cracks on the wall, or let me think about some of the good ones I've seen. You know, something just really bad, like just all the carpets torn up, you know, or a health and safety. A health and safety would be you open up the back door and there's a 5-foot drop and there's no step. Like, yeah, that's dangerous. You know, an appraiser is likely to call out that, but that's not their job. Their job is to see if the house is worth what you're paying for it. And that's with all loan types. So it's important that you guys realize appraisers are not inspectors, okay? So conventional, no inspections unless the appraiser notices something and calls something out. Okay, VA. VA, in most states, a clear termite report is required. So what does that mean? No creepy crawlies, okay? The seller can pay for it, the buyer can pay for it, the realtors can pay for it, we don't care who pays for it. But as a lender, in order to close the loan, in most states with VA, I will need a termite report. Now, there's states where it's not required, like Washington, you know, so you want to make sure you're talking to your lender about, hey, will I need a termite report or not? You know, Texas, Florida, yeah, you do. The Carolinas, absolutely. California, it's yep. So it's really more rare that you wouldn't need one, in all honesty, but definitely check. What else? Well report. That's right. If you're buying a house with a well for a VA loan, I'm going to need two things. Number one, a well report, and number two, a water test that shows that the water meets county or national standards if the county doesn't have any, and it's potable. Potable means drinkable, okay? So those are the two reports that could come up depending on the state and depending on if you're in a well. And once again, if the appraiser calls something out, then we would want a report. The VA appraiser is not an inspector. I know I said this literally 5 minutes ago, but I'm gonna say it again. They are an appraiser, okay? FHA, they're gonna want a water quality test if it's on a well, nothing else. USDA, if it's on a well, they're gonna want a report and water quality test, nothing else, okay? So really, if you think about it, lenders aren't requiring that many inspections, like conventional, none. You know, the other ones, just if you're on a well, termite on VA in most states, but you know, they're not requiring home inspections, they're not requiring roof inspections, they're not requiring foundation inspections, but that stuff can come up if an appraiser says, you know, we had an appraiser recently say, request a mold inspection because they noticed mold when they were in the house. Thank goodness, you know, because the house had a huge mold problem. So I'm glad they called that out, and I'm glad the buyer got the report, and I'm glad the seller had to fix it, and I'm glad that it all had to be verified. That's a good thing, but you can't always count on the appraiser to notice everything because they're an appraiser and not an inspector, okay? So who orders the reports? If it's the appraisal, the lender's gonna order it. No matter what type of loan it is, we order it. If it's anything else, we do not order it. It's generally gonna be you or your real estate agent. A lot of times people are like, oh, my real estate agent's gonna order it all. I'm sure it'll be fine. Look, I strongly believe that you should be picking out the inspectors, or if your real estate agent recommends a few, and they generally will have a few, do some research, do some calling, and see who you're comfortable with. You need to be an active participant in this. You know, this is your life, this is your money, this is your future, and you need to have an active role. Because what I'll hear sometimes is, well, the realtor picked out all the inspectors and the house is a garbage can. Okay, well, is that the real estate agent's fault? Were they bad inspectors? You know, what's the deal? But at the same point, like, had you been active, maybe, you know, you wouldn't have used these inspectors, or you would have been at the inspection and been like, wow, this is a garbage can, not realizing it once you moved in, okay? So it's important that you guys know, you know, the reason to do inspections is to make sure that the house that you're buying, you can afford beyond the payment. You want to make sure that you can afford any work that needs to be done. Look, no house is perfect, not even new ones. Even on a new build, guys, I would say get a home inspection before close. There's always some sort of little problem. Sometimes it's a big problem, but you want to know what that is before you close so you know if you can afford it. So if I was working with a real estate agent who was telling me to waive all my inspections, would I do it personally? No, I did that once and I have paid for it every day since. You guys watch the channel, you've heard me weep about my New York apartment and the leaks, but yeah, never again, guys, never again. And you know, since then I've been at the inspections, I've learned a lot about construction and houses, and I felt so much more confident about what I've bought since then. So strongly recommend inspections. If you get inspections and the lender didn't ask for them, don't send them to us, okay? Only send us what we need, otherwise it can really become an issue, because anything you send to us, we have to send to the underwriter. The underwriter could add a bunch of conditions which could cause problems, because if it's a loan where they're not even supposed to have that, everyone's gonna be wondering why they do. So as always, questions, comments, please feel free to reach out. But yeah, get those inspections, research the inspectors, and make sure if you can be there, you are, so that you're educated when you're buying this house and you don't end up with a money pit.